So a number of you have been tweeting me asking, Grace, how does Mulan stack up to the other Disney live-action adaptations? And you know what that means? It's time for a ranking video. And of course, I invite you to share your own rankings down below in the comments. Now, interestingly, Mulan is actually Disney's 15th live-action adaptation of one of their animated classics that has been released theatrically. But I'm going to do a top 10. So that means honorable mention goes to Christopher Robin. Sorry, Christopher Robin, you were a fun movie, but you just missed my top 10. 1994's The Jungle Book, which was actually the very first Disney live-action adaptation, all the way back in 1994. Then they took a bit of a break, and now it's a factory. But I think they're turning out good stuff. But anyway, also 102 Dalmatians. And then less honorable mention to recent sequels Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and Alice Through the Looking Glass. Certainly gorgeous films, but let's just say I hope Aladdin 2, which is currently in development, and Mulan 2, which the new movie definitely sets up, I just hope they turn out a little bit better than those two did. All right, so let's do this. And again, I invite you to share your own rankings down below. Number 10, 2019's The Lion King. People sure love this story, even when it's the exact same story. Yeah, that's why this is number 10. I'm upset about it. I was upset about it when I saw the movie, when I watched the movie, when I reviewed the movie. I'm still upset about it now. But yeah, that's why Jon Favreau's The Lion King is last on my list, because while I certainly respect its technological achievements, we'll actually be talking about that later on in the video. And for all my criticism here, Jon Favreau does have 2 movies on this list. But it's the exact same frickin' movie, shot for shot, of the 1994 groundbreaking animated film. And the people who made that movie not only didn't get any compensation, which would have been real nice since their work was done over for this movie, but they didn't even get anything in the credits. They didn't even get credit for what they came up with. It's like, yeah, that's a great shot, but you didn't come up with it. So that's frustrating to me. As I said, I just haven't been able to get over it. But Chiwetel Ejiofor was a really good Scar. Jeremy Irons, of course, amazing. But Chiwetel Ejiofor, I felt held his own. He was great. Number 9, 2019's Dumbo. I know, you're like, how did those other movies get honorable mention, Grace? And Dumbo's on the list. Well, I thought it was charming. Really, I really did. Sure, it got a bit too Tim Burton-y in the third act, but the animation on Dumbo was superb. I didn't only believe that an elephant could fly, but that he could cry. He cried a lot. I cried. The drunken elephant scene, downright artistic, just like the original. Just fantastic. I also felt that the opening with the circus train and Danny Elfman's take on Casey Jr. was fantastic. I, in fact, still listen to that song. Well, this movie only came out last year, but I still listen to that song because it's a fantastic pick-me-up. It's just so energetic and also so cozy and Disney. It's amazing. I love it. And so also I have to say that Colin Farrell and Eva Green do real nice work. And as usual, they do real nice work in an unsuccessful movie. I feel so bad for both of them. All right, so although Eva Green kind of does it to herself. She hooked her wagon to Tim Burton during a downtime in his career, while Helena Bonham Carter got him during the better years. All right, number 8, 2015's Cinderella. While this adaptation wasn't told from her perspective like Maleficent, Cate Blanchett's Lady Tremaine stole the show, giving depth and dimension to a classic Disney villain. And while to an adult woman, Cinderella comes across as someone who's lost her mind. It's very difficult for me even to watch the animated film anymore. I'm like, you can't talk to rats and birds. Get out of here. But I think on that note, I've yet to see a version of Cinderella that really outlines. I know some of you would be like, what about the Drew Barrymore version? Yeah, that was better. That was a little more realistic. But, really talking about the lack of options for women, not just when the Charles Perrault version came out of Cinderella, but throughout most of history. Options to support yourself, options, legal options to sue and get your father's estate back from the evil woman he married. Cinderella didn't have a lot of options. Where's the scene of her going to a lawyer and being turned away? But anyway, it is a fantasy film, and the costume and production design in the movie were amazing. In my review, I said that Kenneth Branagh barfed up fantasy everywhere, but I think a more appropriate and traditional description is that this is a wedding cake movie. That's the term for it. And it paved the way for Beauty and the Beast, which we'll get to momentarily. Number 7, 2014's Maleficent. As much as its sequel and its star have faded since this first movie came out, the first Maleficent is still peak Jolie. Well, really, peak Jolie round 2. It's her Jack Sparrow role. You know, she saw what Disney did for Johnny Depp and was like, give me a slice of that. And fans had long sparked to Disney's Mistress of Evil, especially since the Mistress of Evil has more screen time in the classic animated film than Princess Aurora herself. Maleficent, this new movie, the girl power theme did get lost in Frozen's shadow, which had been released just months before. You know, it was like, oh, no Prince Charming in Frozen. And then Maleficent did it, and people are like, I just saw that. But audiences were still thrilled with Jolie's performance, from her Lady Gaga-inspired prosthetic cheekbones to the VFX that she herself supervised. That's fantastic. She earned it. And then just like Johnny Depp, she threw it away. Fascinating. I bet you didn't expect the comparisons to continue down that dark road. All right, number 6, 1996's 101 Dalmatians. That's right. It's one of the first, and it still gets on this list because Glenn Close did it first, and she did it amazing. Close brought Cruella de Vil to life way back in the 1990s. Oh, the Emma Stone one, of course, is coming up supposedly next year. But that movie was actually produced and co-written by John Hughes. Jeff Daniels and Hugh Laurie were also in 101 Dalmatians, interestingly enough. The live-action adaptation thrilled audiences and wasn't absolutely hated by critics. Close's elaborate costumes, decades before the Umbrella Academy's The Handler, although she definitely owes a pin in her wardrobe to Glenn Close. But Glenn Close's Cruella de Vil fashions were a sensation and were put on display at the Disney theme parks. Who else remembers the very elaborate display at Disney's Hollywood Studios for the 100, I don't know if it was for 101 or 102 Dalmatians, but I remember going through it so many times with the beautiful costumes and the snow. It was really wonderful. And so that's part of why I think that movie is so fabulous. This is why Disney and everybody's cashing on nostalgia these days. Nostalgia is a powerful drug. All right, number 5. 2010's Alice in Wonderland. This is the live-action adaptation that started them all. Well, actually, the current trend. Again, it wasn't the first one. But this was actually one of the very first movies overall, ever, of all movies ever made, to gross $1 billion at the box office. This was also during Johnny Depp's heyday at Disney, giving him not one, but 2 huge franchises, supposedly. Alice never materialized as a franchise, but it looked like it was going to, at the Mouse House. Fascinatingly, though, both Depp and Tim Burton's careers went downhill right after this film. And what do you know? Tim Burton actually also has 2 movies on this list. Good for him! I guess he's not doing that bad. He can hold on to that feather like Dumbo. He's like, I'm still hovering. I haven't crashed quite yet. He kind of did. Oh, well. It's hard to kill a career in Hollywood. All right, number 4, 2016's The Jungle Book. Speaking of careers and not killing them, you can always rise like the phoenix. We'll talk about Mulan momentarily. But speaking of careers, The Jungle Book was a huge, huge hit, which not only reinvigorated Jon Favreau's career at Disney after he was kicked off the Iron Man movies and then really hurt himself over at Universal with Cowboys and Aliens, but this is where Favreau started his James Cameron-esque journey as a technical wizard, going on to do both The Lion King and The Mandalorian, building on what he learned with The Jungle Book technology-wise. And The Jungle Book has one of the best themed Disney Castle openings of all the recent films that they've made, inspired by the classic Disneyland theme park. It was so amazing, especially in 3D. I'll never forget it. All right, now it gets tough. The final 3. Number 3, these are all so close. All right, number 3, 2017's Beauty and the Beast. Cinderella was a wedding cake movie. This is a wedding cake musical. Oh, it's delightful. Finally, what a feast, right? Pull up a chair. Finally, Disney embraced the songs as well as the animation with these adaptations. It also helps to be adapting the Disney Renaissance films, which again have that extra kick of nostalgia that today's audiences can't get enough of. I also love the additional story elements here. More of Belle's father, her feminism, dialed up to an 11, and it was pretty high up in the first movie, and a more sinister Gaston, but still so charismatic. Beauty and the Beast was the first live-action adaptation to actually capture the magic of the original animated classic. Number 2, again, these are squeakers. Number 2, 2020's Mulan. Nikki Caro, Rick Jaffa, and Amanda Silver's Mulan is the least like its animated counterpart, but in a good way. It not only shines a light on feminism, but also the people of China who get little recognition in the West. It's a beautiful, sophisticated film, and the link to my review down below, where I point out that this is truly Disney's Wonder Woman. And then number 1, 2019's Aladdin. I can't wait to hear what everybody else's number one is. I bet for a lot of you, it's Aladdin. I mean, to me, this live-action adaptation had everything. It's got the classic songs, the Arabian setting, both fantastic, but also a better representation than the animated film for the Middle East. Down to the cast. What a cast. New discovery. Mina Masood. Why would anybody else hire him? He's so talented. As bad as he looked in the teaser trailer, he turned out to be an absolute delight. Naomi Scott, who also everybody was afraid of if she would do a horrible job, but she did Jasmine such justice. Nasim Pedrad in a great supporting role, giving Jasmine a female character to talk to so that the movie could pass the Bechdel test. And I think it did. They talked about Aladdin a lot, but I still think it did. And then, of course, it's always nice to have more than one female character. And then, of course, Will Smith, who made the genie his own, with all due respect to Robin Williams, and was rewarded with the most successful film of his career. And he has a lot of successful films on his resume. Plus, the added story elements here were also fantastic, including More Danger. I loved it! And again, you'll notice my top 3 are Disney Renaissance films. So I'm very excited for the upcoming The Little Mermaid. Don't ruin it, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Although a lot of you really love Moana, so I think it could turn out pretty well. And I'm excited about Halle Bailey quite a bit. But anyway, I want to see the other Disney Renaissance films adapted as well. Has enough time passed since Warner Brothers Tarzan? I think so, and I don't think they're doing anything else with that Tarzan, even though it was actually pretty good. So let's go. Although maybe the Jungle Cruise movie might hurt it because I don't know how well that's going to do. All right, so anyway, which are your favorite live-action Disney adaptations? Share them down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.